Unfortunately, it seems I forgot to copy all of the talking clips from the Mekong Delta to my hard drive, so for today I'll be using voiceover. Hopefully it works well enough and I remember all of the information. After leaving Cat Ba Island, our last stop was the capital city of Hanoi. Unfortunately, Louis' trip ended here and he had to go home, leaving me to continue the rest of my journey alone. I spent the next 3 months in this colourful city, unwinding after over 5 months of non-stop travel, planning the next leg of my journey and doing a few freelance jobs here and there. I've really enjoyed my long stay in Hanoi. It holds so much life and happiness, and there's always something interesting happening around every single corner. After my first month in Hanoi, I decided to head north for the lush green rice fields and some trekking with the hill tribes of Sapa. I arrived in Sapa town and quickly realised I was looking for something more authentic. So the next day I headed to Hoang Kim homestay in Tavan village, where I planned to spend a week eating delicious home-cooked food and meeting the locals. Sadly, I picked a bad time to go as there were torrential thunderstorms and flooding for the whole week I was there. I ended up spending almost the entire time hiding in a hammock, apart from the one day with a clear hour when a group of us from the hostel went for a short hike up to a viewpoint behind the homestay. Although it was quite muddy, it was beyond beautiful looking out over the rice fields and breathing in the fresh mountain air. I will definitely be back to see everything that Sapa has to offer in the future. After my 3-month stay in Hanoi and a short week in Tokyo, I then decided to head further south on my own to experience the winding rivers of the Mekong Delta. I started in My Tho and arranged a private day tour through my hotel from My Tho to Ben Tre that included 2 nights in the Hong Tai Riverside homestay. The tour started on Unicorn Island with a taster of some of the local fruits grown in the Mekong Delta, followed by about half an hour to explore the island. Here I got my first glimpse of the famous coconut candy being made. We then boarded a sampan boat for a ride through the mangroves of Coconut Canal. It was such a peaceful experience and probably my favourite part of the tour. My guide wasn't the best at giving me information as he would just wait at the entrance until I came back. I think this was mainly because he didn't speak very good English, but he was a lovely guy regardless.
So after we've done this boat ride, what are we doing next? What are we doing next?
Next.
What's next in the tour?
Finally, we took a trip to Con Fung Island, which has many photo opportunities, a crocodile farm and an orchard garden. definitely was interesting to see this many crocodiles up close, however it was quite sad seeing them in such a small space and knowing that they're just being farmed for commercial wildlife trade. At the end of the day, we arrived at Hong Thai Homestay in Ben Tre, where I had my own private bungalow and a hot meal waiting for me. The homestay is entirely self-sustainable and was built by the owner, Mr. Thai, who was telling me some incredible life stories over dinner. The next morning, it was time for the second tour of the trip, this time in Ben Tre, and joined by the other guest of the homestay, Angus from Australia. The tour was similar to the last one, but much more informative and interesting. We got to see the local fishing boats, crayfish traps, explore some of the nearby islands, seeing fruits that I didn't even know existed, and more of the local life, followed by another sampan boat ride through the mangroves, and yet another crocodile farm. Our guide Huong served in the Vietnam War as a translator for the Americans, and he definitely loved to talk, which was great for this tour. We also saw the traditional bamboo houses, which are sadly being destroyed every single day. This is due to the large amounts of sand being sourced from the river, which causes the banks to collapse. Luckily, Mr. Thai came up with a way to stop this using recycled materials and is teaching it all around the Mekong Delta. It was so nice to see the locals in their daily life and seeing how happy and friendly they all are. We then took a visit to a small coconut candy workshop to see the process of how it's made, followed by a taste test. Finally, it was time to head back to the homestay to enjoy the sunset and a fresh fish dinner straight from the Mekong River. Mr. Thai built the whole homestay with one of his friends in just 2 years and is really one of the most interesting people I've ever met. I would love to go back and make a documentary about him and his life, as it was just such an incredible story, and he's famous all over the Mekong Delta for what he does for the community. The final tour of the trip was at Kai Rang Floating Market in Can Tho a few days later. We had to wake up at 5 AM to get there for sunrise and beat the crowds, but it was definitely worth it. It was such a wonderful experience seeing the locals hard at work making trades, and by far my favourite day of the trip. Our boat driver was so friendly and kept making us accessories from bamboo grass that we could wear on our heads. We carried on down the river, seeing more of the local life and stilt houses, before stopping at a smaller floating market for a coffee and continuing through the mangroves. After doing a full loop of the river, we headed back into town just in time to catch the sunset shining over the Mekong. And just like that, my Mekong adventure was over. It really was a special trip and I would love to go back. If you do go, I highly recommend checking out Mr. Thai's homestay, as it will make sure you have an incredible experience.